Hey guys, I know it's been a few days late, but welcome to my 4th anniversary video. Obviously, Halloween just passed by a couple of weeks ago. Halloween, one of my favorite holidays. What a better way to celebrate a whole day of carving pumpkins, dressing up in costumes, going door to door for candy, bobbing for apples, seeing teenage girls in sluttier costumes, and watching terrible movies. Wait, those two don't count. But trick-or-treating and carving pumpkins is one thing. The other is when they make shows and movies on Halloween. Whether they take place before or during Halloween, taking them and re-releasing them into theaters to celebrate Halloween, and usually making franchises around Halloween time. Best examples are the Saw movies and the Paranormal Activity movies. Even though that franchise has gone downhill and Saw 7 or Saw 3D ended with a bullshit ending. Game over. But we still like to watch movies and TV shows around Halloween, despite having some being passable and ignoring some that either kills a franchise or just kills the horror genre. So, for this special occasion on this anniversary video, I decided to bring back an old subject that I did back in 2012 on Halloween. Yep, that's right. Today, it's the return of Halloween movie viewing. So which film am I going to review? I was debating to do the Puppet Master franchise, but I may do that next time. This time, I'm going to review a movie that came out 4 months later after I was born. That movie is Casper. What better time to review a film about a friendly ghost that was based on those old cartoons and based on a comic book series? Sounds pretty damn good to me. For those who don't know, let me sum up real quick on the history of Casper. Casper was made in the 1930s and spawned cartoons and comic books. It also had a cartoon show in 1963 called The New Casper Cartoon Show, and later on a cartoon series in 1979 called Casper and the Angels. I remember watching the Christmas special as a kid, and it was pretty cool to see Casper interact with the Hanna-Barbera characters at the time, since Hanna-Barbera produced the cartoon show. Then, Universal Studios decided to create a live-action movie about him, and it was released on May 26, 1995. Now that we got the history out of the way, let's talk about the movie. The film begins with Kerrigan, played by Kathy Moriarty, whose father is dead and leaves her a will and given by him a manor called Whipstaff Manor instead of his fortune.
This is not fair!
While irate and throws the file in the fire, Dibbs, played by Eric Idle, reaches for the file and sees that there's a treasure chest in the manor. Intrigued by this, Kerrigan and Dibbs go to Whipstaff Manor in Friendship, Maine. While in there, our titular character shows up right in front of them.
Hi, I'm Casper!
They scream, obviously, and accidentally wakes up his uncles. After fleeing out of the mansion, they try many ways of getting rid of the ghosts, but they all backfire.
Let's do something!
Casper watches the news and sees an interview from Dr. James Harvey, played by Bill Pullman, a paranormal therapist who is looking for his dead wife's spirit, and even says that she may have unfinished business.
Ghosts are simply spirits without resolution, with unfinished business, and it's my job to find out what that is.
His daughter, Kat, played by a young Christina Ricci, has a bad relationship with her dad. Casper sees this as an opportunity to go through Kerrigan's TV in a hotel room, yes, bear with me, and displays the news channel for her to see, and has the idea to send the Harveys to the manor and investigate it. After moving in and encountering the ghosts, Casper tries to be friends with Kat, while Dr. Harvey studies the ghostly trio and making peace with them while still looking for his dead wife, Amelia. Later on, Casper tells Kat a pretty sad story about how he died and sees a newspaper saying that his father created a machine called the Lazarus, which can bring the dead back to life. So the quest begins with Casper trying to become alive while Kerrigan and Dibbs find the treasure chest in the manor. You would think that the story is all over the place. I mean, hell, you got Dr. Harvey looking for Amelia's spirit, Kat trying to fit in at a new school, Casper trying to be friends with Kat, Kerrigan and Dibbs looking for the treasure chest, the ghost ghostly trio trying to scare away the Harveys, and then you got Kat and Casper trying to start up the Lazarus and have Casper be alive. Some could argue that it's kind of hard to follow the story. Some said it's predictable, forgettable, and that some parts need to be cut. I can kind of see that, but at the same time, some of the story arcs that I mentioned gets resolved later on. The one story arc that I felt was useless and kind of cliche is Kat trying to date the popular boy at school, while the popular girl is being mean and plans on ruining her life. That felt really pointless, and the two popular people are just bland and one-dimensional, especially the girl.
Wait a minute, I thought we were having the party at my place.
Your confusing thesis has captured my attention. Tell me more.
The story can be also sad. One scene in particular is when Casper finally remembers being alive and tells Kat about how he likes to sled all day, but later on he gets pneumonia and dies.
Got late, got dark, got cold, and I got sick. My dad got sad.
That's really sad, and you really feel bad for the poor kid. Another part of the story is ghosts with unfinished business.
My what?
Or unfinished business. All ghosts have unfinished business.
I had to look up information on this, and what I got is basically the same thing as the movie explains it. So basically, unfinished business is when a spirit from a dead person forms a strong bond with a certain place in life, and they return to haunt that place after death.
That's why they don't cross over.
Casper at one point mentioned that he wanted to cross over, but he couldn't because he didn't want his dad to be alone.
I didn't go where I was supposed to go. I just stayed behind, so my dad wouldn't be lonely.
Another interesting thing is what happens when a person becomes a ghost. Kat asks Casper why he doesn't remember being alive. He says this.
Guess because when you're a ghost, life doesn't matter that much anymore. So you forget.
Now that's really interesting. As you see later on, the statement is true. When the ghosts take Dr. Harvey to a bar and later on gets drunk, they decided to kill him and make a quartet. Dr. Harvey confesses that the ghosts aren't leaving the house and plans to tell off Kerrigan. Then he tells them that they are great and that he loves them and kisses them.
Hey.
After seeing a funny scene with the uncles crying while debating on whether they should kill him since they're grown attached to him, Dr. Harvey walks out of the bar and falls to his death in a manhole. When he becomes a ghost, he completely forgets about Kat. That is until she does the whole pinky deal, which her and Dr. Harvey did earlier. He immediately remembers her. As for the ghostly trio, they have no memory of when they were alive, but when Kerrigan dies and comes back as a ghost, she instantly gains her memory in like a millisecond. It's not the biggest plot hole, but it is still confusing. I think the biggest issue, at least to me, is when they encounter the ghostly trio for the first time and Dr. Harvey sucks the ghost into a vacuum cleaner. They're struggling inside the vacuum bag.
Oh man, hold that one. Well, who do you think?
Who's got that pointy head, Mike?
That's not my head.
Oh!
How in the hell does that work? They can go through walls, ceilings, floors, doors, everything else, but not through a vacuum bag? I had a problem with that as a kid, and I still have that same problem. Same thing can be said with the appearances of the ghosts. You see that Dr. Harvey and Kerrigan still have their hair and clothes, but Casper and the ghostly trio doesn't have any hair or clothes. But besides the few problems that I have and one cliche story arc, the overall story is really good. There are also some ghost puns in this movie.
We got a closet case here.
Smellogram. You see anyone? California roll coming up. Fix your pants before they fall.
Anybody for a little shishka dog?
Car winner. Buy a clean steakhouse. Unbelievable.
This sucks.
Take a hike.
Get a grade.
Honey.
Drop dead.
Too late. Scream or sugar. Could this be an expression of hostility, Doc? Come on, Doc. Stay tough. Don't stop. It ain't often we meet a bone bag as amusing as you. He's just a little dead. Cat Blue. Catatonic. Catastrophic.
Kreplach soup?
I do admit that they're eye-rolling sometimes and makes you groan at them, but they're kind of funny at the same time, in a weird kind of way. It just depends on how you like the puns. Trust me, the puns in Casper: A Spirited Beginning is a lot worse.
Possession is 9/10 of the law. I learned this trick from my mummy.
It's a poltergeist party. I know Technicolor. So how about Odorama? This is a no parking zone. You better check under there.
Underwear!
Exactly. A mega onesie.
What a crack-up!
Just like the U.S. Air Force.
Smooth move, X-Lax. Ernest Hunting way? No, William Shakespeare. Let your ghostly instincts guide you, young spookwalker.
Ugh. The cast in this movie can be a mixed bag to some people. Bill Pullman was great as Dr. Harvey. Christina Ricci was really good in this film. Some say that Kathy Moriarty's character is just a cliche Disney villain. I can totally see that. Because when you get down to it, she's not that great of a villain and she's a bland character. All we know from her is that her dad passed away, he gives her the manor, she's pissed, she wants to get the treasure chest, and nothing else. She doesn't even have emotions about her dead father, but she still has some moments where she is kind of creepy and fun to watch at the same time.
And you have a flight to catch. Any other takers?
The one actor that people felt that was underused is Eric Idle as Dibs. I could kinda see it, but I have no problem with him in this movie. He's still funny and has one badass moment.
You can haunt me all you want, but it's gonna be in a great, big, expensive house with lovely purple wallpaper and great big green carpets and a little dog called Carrigan, a bitch just like you. I got the power. I got the treasure.
He was a lot better than Martin Short as Jack Frost in the Santa Claus 3. Trust me.
I invented chill.
Oh boy. Ben Stein is doing his normal shtick as usual. The voice actors for the ghosts are also really good. Malachi Pearson does the voice for Casper, while Devon Sawa plays the human form of him, which is the second time him and Christina Ricci show up together. The first being now in Van. The people that did the voice for the ghostly trio are Joe Napodi.
I think it's time we gave the doc our own prescription.
But what about the party?
The party'll have to wait.
Famous voice actor Joe Alasky,
The parties are always pretty dead, though.
and Brad Garrett.
Where's dinner? I'm starving. Look at me, I'm wasting away.
There's also a voice cameo from Jess Harnell, and he does the voice for Arnold when Casper turns into a superhero.
Come with me if you want to live.
While I'm talking about the cast, I should talk about the cameos. Don Novello plays the priest that tries to get rid of the ghost, but ultimately backfires.
Oh, was fine. Was no problem. Piece of cake.
Dan Aykroyd returns as Ray from Ghostbusters.
Who you gonna call? Someone else.
The mirror scene has a chuckload of them. We have Clint Eastwood,
I'm gonna kill you, your mama, and all her bridge-playing friends.
Rodney Dangerfield,
You think you got it tough? I got a facelift.
Mel Gibson of all people, and the best Crypt Keeper cameo ever. On top of that, he even does the Home Alone scream. That's a funny reference to Home Alone, while the mirror scene is also a reference to Poltergeist. There is also another cameo in this scene where Dr. Harvey turns into Steven Spielberg, who is an executive producer in the film. It was filmed, but that was cut out for pacing reasons. It would be cool to see that part if that footage exists. The sets look amazing. I remember watching this movie as a kid and was blown away by Whipstaff Manor and the laboratory. Whipstaff Manor looks scary and the inside just looks fantastic. It reminds me of a dark, creepy church or castle. This shows how really big this place is. The only thing that would be cool is if Vincent Price and Christopher Lee was there. Those creepy fish faces that you see on the top and bottom of the stairs. God, I would be creeped out by it when I was a kid. Looks like a piranha mixed with Beast Wars Injector. The laboratory is amazing and is pretty much the pinnacle of mad scientist laboratories. Dr. Insano could have a field day with this. The CG in this movie are really top notch. This was the first film to have a CGI character as the main lead. Some people criticize that comparing the effects today are dated. Back then, CG were cutting edge with films like Forrest Gump, Toy Story, and Terminator 2 Judgment Day. So, for 1995, it is well made and really impressive, and they still hold up by today's standards. The CG on the ghosts are incredibly well done. The best effect is whenever Casper has to turn invisible. Much like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the actors would have to either talk at nothing, talk to stand-in maquettes, or talk to tennis balls and play place, so that way the animators will add the ghosts later. The town that the Harveys go to, Friendship, Maine, actually exists. It's right down in Knox County, but the production crew chose Rockport for filming. But still, it's really nice to see the colored trees in the movie. Coming from a person who lived in Maine, the trees looked gorgeous. The score for this movie is great. The composer for this film is the late James Horner. Much like any other famous composers, James Horner's music is always nice to listen to. Also, there's two songs that plays at the end of the movie. In the dancing scene, it's Jordan Hill singing Remember Me This Way.
I'll make a wish for you and hope it will come true.
Which is a wonderful song. When the film starts to end, Little Richard sings Casper the Friendly Ghost, while the ghostly trio are dressed up like Little Richard.
Boys? Casper, the friendly ghost, the friendliest ghost you know.
It would be funny if they actually did get to animate Little Richard as a ghost while singing the song along with the ghostly trio. There was a song sequence that was filmed.
You think we should break into a song?
No.
But was removed from the movie. It would have Dr. Harvey come in with a sign that shows the word death as an acronym, and the uncles would sing about how lucky they are to be ghosts. Because of the budget that this movie has, they couldn't animate the ghosts in the song because it would cost more to animate them. All we have for is shots where the ghosts would dance and behind the scenes clips of people doing choreography for the song.
Uninsurably, out of my head I've been diagnosed. But it don't matter if you're mad as a hatter when you're lucky enough
To be a ghost.
It's now a deleted scene that you can find on DVD. I wonder what would happen if the people who made the movie could take that scene right now, try to animate the scene, and put it all together. That will probably never happen, but I like to keep my fingers crossed on that thought. Speaking of deleted scenes, in the behind the scenes video on DVD, they showed other clips of them filming Dr. Harvey sleeping in a car and him being pushed outside in his chair and falls into the water, but they never made it to the final product. I have no clue what they were about or what the intention was with those scenes. Only time will tell if it ever shows up in the future. Some of you might ask the same question. Is this film scary? Well, it depends on how you saw the film when you were either a kid or an adult. For me, when I was a kid, I thought it was really scary and cool. Later on, growing up and watching it time after time, it's not that scary, but there are some scary parts in it. Kerrigan's ghost form can be scary sometimes. Stretch's big bloated form while telling Casper to get him his meal is creepy, but the one scene that still scares me to this day is when the uncles come back from a horse race, they hear Dr. Harvey's voice and plans on scaring him. How do they do that? This.
Can you deal with that?
Can you?
Good lord. If that's not scary, I don't know what is. I remember seeing this as a kid for the first time, and it scared the crap out of me. And every time when I see this as a kid, I get my blanket ready and hide from seeing that scene. This may be off topic, but on the DVD menu for this movie, it would play a few clips from the movie, as normal DVD menus would do. Then, for some reason, it cuts to a scene from Casper's Haunted Christmas, just to add more padding for the menu. No joke, it's the scene where he's flying around in the dark, but they either chroma keyed the background or used a color key to remove the black background so it fits in this menu. If you wait for that scene to be done, there will be 3 clips of the ghostly trio in the movie.
You are good. Oh, stop it.
Now keep in mind, I was 11 at the time in 2006, and I didn't know the pattern of the 3 clips. When I got the DVD, I saw the clips and Casper flying around. Guess which of the 3 clips that I saw and caught me off guard and had me almost crapping myself? Yep, that scene. I never thought that a DVD menu would literally scare the hell out of me as a kid. But enough of that, let's get back on track. I remember a lot of scenes when I was a kid watching this on VHS. I remember the scene where 2 kids sneak in the manor and Casper takes their camera to take a picture, the beautiful trees in Maine, the dialogue between Dr. Harvey and the ghostly trio, the mirror scene, the breakfast scene, the scene where the ghostly trio sings Rise of the Valkyries while flying down and melting by sunlight, the chair scene, the scene where the Lazarus rises up from the water and looking really cool, and that, but I mostly remember the scene with Casper telling his backstory on how he died, and the scene where Dr. Harvey talking to Amelia face to face at the end. I didn't know how to react to them when I was a kid, but growing up and watching it, those scenes are really good and they can be a tearjerker sometimes. I should mention that the director for this film was Brad Silberling, which is his directorial debut, and would later on direct Lemony Snicket's and the 2009 Land of the Lost movie. Steven Spielberg, like I said, was the executive producer. The film was written by Sherry Stoner and Deanna Oliver, who wrote and produced Animaniacs and Tiny Toon Adventures alongside with Steven Spielberg. When the film was released, it made a whole lot of money. The budget for this movie was $55 million, but during the box office, it reached $287 million, and it became a commercial success. There was going to be a sequel to this movie in the mid-90s, and there was a drafted script that was made after the movie's release, but despite being a success at the box office, it didn't make enough for them to do it.
A holy mess, you know what I'm saying?
Bill Pullman and Christina Ricci were doing other projects at the time, and the producers decided to make a cartoon series called The Spooktacular New Adventures of Casper. The actors that voiced the ghosts are back in this, and they are the only returning cast members from the movie.
Cut it out, cut it out, cut it out.
After the release of the film, it spawned a prequel which had nothing to do with the film, and an actor that makes my skin crawl.
I'm Snivel, and welcome to our ghost train station. You, the rookies, will be learning the A-B-C's of the ghost life. Would you like a Asburin, sir?
Ugh. In case some of you don't know, that's Pauly Shore as Snivel.
The Sniveler has sniveled his finest snivel.
The less I say more about him, the better. Then there was a sequel to the prequel starring Hilary Duff, which was her film debut. Then you got Kathy Moriarty coming back, Shelley Duvall, Terry Garr, George Hamilton, and...
You summon?
God damn it. Pauly Shore stars in this movie too.
Windy has meant a boo 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 boo, a friendly ghost.
Go away, Pauly Shore. Go away. Anyway, there's two prequels, a CGI holiday movie, and a CGI TV movie about Casper and Scare School, which I've never watched, but I do know that Devin Werkheiser, who you may know him as Ned Bigby in Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide, did the voice for Casper. I love that show.
Ooh, quesadilla.
Good time.
That only leaves one suspect.
There's also a Turkish Casper movie, and I use that term very loosely because it's not about Casper. It's a 1963 Turkish film called Gigi Can, and the story has no connection with Casper. It's a misleading title that will grab people's attention. What's it about? I recommend watching Cinema Snob's review on it. It's a whole lot better than seeing the film. So after all of what I have to say about this movie, should I recommend it? I think so. I remember liking this movie as a kid. Like I said, I watched it on VHS in the late 90s. I got the DVD of it on June 2006. When I watched it on DVD in that year, I felt the same way as I did when I was young in the late 90s. Later on, watching it and growing up, I started to appreciate the sets, the effects, the music, the cast, minus one or two characters that I didn't care for, and the story. It's really dark, but not to the point where it's just too much of it and out of control. It's dark, but it's blended well with comedy, drama, and even sorrow. Is it the best film? Some can argue about that. I'm sort of in between. It's not American Beauty or the Ten Commandments. I can still poke fun at this movie, but I think it's one of the best films of the 90s, and it's close to my childhood. But it just all depends on how you feel about this film. If you've grown up and you wanted to see how well it holds up by today's standards and see some parts that you didn't see as a kid, I strongly recommend it. If you have kids and they want to watch a movie for Halloween, this one will be a better choice for them. The kids can love the scares and see the colors in the movie, while the parents can watch it and appreciate the sets, the effects, the story, and even some of the pop cultural references.
Marky's not.
I feel like Oprah on hiatus.
You look like Oprah on hiatus.
This film is so damn good that as I get older, I will keep on watching it over and over again. Take a look at it and decide for yourself. Happy 4th anniversary, guys. I'll see you later.